Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey there, how you doing? Welcome to the program. It's good to be here again. It's been a little while, not having done the show yesterday, and an awful lot to talk about. And that brings us to, of course, my sister, since that's Tuesday is Sue's Day. So, hey, Suze, how you doing?
Hey, I'm here.
Good.
Exhausted, but here.
What are you? Exhausted?
Exhausted. Yeah.
Well, why? This Passover exhaust.
Yeah, lots of Seder preparation felt only to me.
Yeah, well, of course. Who the hell else? You think your brother was going to help?
No, but I did too, because I did a pre-Seder Seder.
I know. But you know what? Here's the thing I was thinking. As exhausting as it is to do a Seder, which is like a 12-course meal, plus, who knows what else, plus all these rules about what you can and can't eat. The fact is, we all have it easier than those Orthodox Jewish women who can't even begin to imagine.
Who are required to clean their whole house and get rid of every
crumb. Every crumb.
But in so doing, you're supposed to move your beds. This is like spring cleaning.
In crazy stuff. I mean, they're women, and these Orthodox women often have 7 children. I don't think the men are particularly given to doing domestic work. And so I can't even begin to imagine how exhausted they are by this holiday. It is, and it's a great holiday, but it's exhausting.
It is. And I had two very different Seders. One with my children and my grandchildren and my mother, and we did the whole thing, much to my youngest grandchild's horror, because she did not understand how she could be sitting at the table that long and no one had given her anything yet. But eventually we got into it, and so that was very nice. And then last night, of course, with our brother leading the Seder, we went in areas that no one would have thought we would land upon. As mother rolled her eyes and played the part of the youngest child.
Yeah, I have to say, I was at a Seder last night.
At one point, Bill's dog, Addie, heaved the biggest, loudest sigh and then just started snoring. And I said, I just couldn't. I got the giggles because I thought that's playing, Uncle Louie's here.
It was we need somebody to, do some.
The editorial eye rolling.
Yeah, I did. I couldn't help myself. I was invited somewhere and I acted up a bit because that's what we do. And the leader of the Seder asked somebody to read the next page, and the next page was when Rabbi this and that and Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi were doing, and I yelled out, I said, no, not the rabbis. And there was horror.
Dead silence. What do you mean, no rabbis?
I said, the rabbis. Oh, yeah, not the rabbis. Don't go there. And then, of course, I was assigned to read The Rebellious Child.
Oh, gee, how did that happen?
Yeah, I said, that's typecasting. It's, But anyway, so I hope all those of you who had Seders had a good one. This one was particularly fraught, I think, for Jews on so many levels.
Difficult.
Yeah, it really was. And in fact, at the Seder I was at, One of the people there broke down crying at one point. And it was just the weight of a lot that is on us now. Whatever. It was, yeah, heavy stuff. So, um, I'm thinking, what's given a choice? Or you can be a university president.
Oh, I'll pick juror at the Trump trial every time.
Even if it comes with the potential for, life altering.
Yeah, absolutely. They both do. So I'll seek justice while being targeted. I wouldn't. You can't. I feel so sorry for all of these people. There is nothing anybody can do.
No.
With a group of know-it-all university kids with outside agitators mixed in. I remember this well because I lived through it in the Vietnam War.
Well, yes, this feels different.
This does feel different. It's more threatening, and it's aimed at fellow students,
right,
as well as the university. And this is the part that I don't get. How those kids, if you can't substitute any other minority group in the slogans that you're shouting at the Jewish kids, examine yourselves. This isn't about Israel. This is really anti-Semitism. If any Jewish person walks by and you scream Zionist and poke their eyes out,
well,
who are you?
Okay.
Well, that's what happened.
Well, listen, a lot is happening, and I to see that Jews at these schools and the Jewish organizations are not of one mind on how to deal with this. You had a rabbi at Columbia telling students to leave the campus for their safety,
right,
and not to come back. And then the Hillel, the Jewish organization on college campuses, was telling students to stay if they feel, and to certainly reach out whenever necessary. So there's not a sense. I was reading a thing today. A reporter went into Columbia and mixed with the students out on the lawn, and he found it an odd environment in many ways, and of course filled with earnest, absolutely righteous young people, but that there was a mindset there that was so monolithic that even they were organized in such a way that there were leaders who tell them what to say. 3 Jews came into the camp and they were immediately surrounded by other of these students with their arms locked and being told what and chanting at them in certain ways, so that the Jews finally left. Statement that is it's so mind-blowing. Here's what it says. White Jewish people are today and always have been the oppressors of all brown people. I don't even know where to start with that. Then it goes on to say, and when I say the Holocaust wasn't special, I mean that. This was a screed that went out from the lesbian organization at Columbia.
Like there aren't Jewish lesbians?
There are Jewish lesbians.
I know. One of my favorite people is one.
Well, but what does that have to do with it?
Well, because I don't understand an organization that's comprised of all sorts of different people
Oh, that they're well, but this is what's happening to Jewish students. They are being outed and ousted
Ostracized.
from
Yeah.
classes, from all kind. Because if you're a Jew now, you are, yes, an oppressor, and it's I can't even begin to imagine.
Well,
The
they
other,
certainly know nothing about the history of the Jews. We'll just put it that
well,
way.
but there's also nothing. By the way, I saw a great quote. Somebody said, Colombia, geez, Colombia is now just Hamas with a lousy football team.
Well, in other news, and to show how this shakes out, both the synagogue and the Chabad house in Green Bay were shot up last week.
Shot up?
Yeah, somebody went by them and shot at the front of the buildings and shot out windows and doors. Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh God. Okay, so never seen anything like this, and when this starts, it doesn't end well, and that this is coming from people who I have stood with so often. I am I was thinking, what is the adjective I am? When I was home yesterday, just thinking about this, and the first word that came to me was sad. I'm just so sad. I feel like I'm in mourning. And then the other thing is, I am enraged. And those are two very negative things to feel.
Yeah,
And it's
I
not,
agree with you.
it's really awful. We've got a caller here. Let's get the caller in. Hello, go ahead.
Lynn?
Yes.
Yes, Lynn. Good morning to you and Susan.
Good
Hi.
morning.
Good morning. Susan, Lynn, I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I'm very interested in the difference. I know Susan touched lightly on it, and I
Yes.
know you were very active, and I applaud you for that. When I was in Vietnam, you were protesting, and again, I applaud you for that. Could you, at some point today, or maybe in a future show, tell us the difference between that campus unrest in 68, 69, 70, et cetera, to what we are experiencing today?
Well, I'll right now. I mean, I'm not giving it a lot of thought, but right now, something immediately comes to mind. The '60s group, the anti-Vietnam War group, uh, we did not. We were nonviolent mostly. We were not menacing. And these kids are. They're often menacing, especially other students. And the other thing they're doing is that very often they're masked. Their faces are covered, which I find fascinating because it means that they want to be anonymous. And to me, that is not part of civil disobedience. Civil disobedience is standing unmasked, making your point. A mask suggests menace again. And those are the two just immediate things I see. There are similarities in that both, they're young people, young, probably very bright people who are of an age when they think they know everything and they don't know everything. They are self-righteous and they're not given to listening to anybody. And I think those things are probably the same. And I think this crowd is much more uninformed than the '60s crowd.
Can I take a crack at this, though?
You bet.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I don't disagree, but I would counter with the fact that no, at least on my campus in 1970, when we burned down the ROTC buildings.
What?
Yeah, Washington University in 1970, my freshman year, we burned the ROTC building down.
Well, first of all, Susan, don't say we, because you were not burning down the building.
I wasn't there. No, I mean, I
would
was
you
there
have
because
approved
only
of
because
that? Would you have approved of that?
No, of course not. Of course not. But I am saying that students who, were part of that program, and obviously so, must have felt terribly unsafe. And
well, you
just
bet.
Because,
okay, yes, you're right,
so
and I know
I'm disagreeing.
That is true.
There were acts of violence.
Yes, there were.
But I agree with you that it was fundamentally different in that what we were protesting didn't include a large part of the population just because of the religion they were.
Yeah.
In some sense, you could decide that deciding to be part of ROTC was a political decision and therefore disagree with it, which I don't. But, I do think that there are instances where these things are the same. And the other way that I think they're the same is that the leaders that inevitably go to the top are more concerned with the fun they're having being leaders than with the actual issues.
Yeah, you've brought up something that I think is a big part of it, and I forget. When you're young like this is intoxicating.
Very.
It's intoxicating to be part of this. You feel powerful. You feel like, yes, you could bring the world down. And of course, you feel, as I said, right. You are filled with your own sense of righteousness. And it's intoxicating. And and unfortunately, that's not good because intoxication means there's other things going on feeding you that have nothing whatsoever to do with this extraordinarily complex geopolitical problem. It just becomes a sort of like a communal self-masturbatory event. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's depressing.
Lynn and Susan, I'd like to thank you for your perspective, and I'll let some other callers come in if possible. But just my perspective on it, I'm trying to dig deep in it because I was away during those times.
Yeah.
And I just look at it this way. I look at it, the cause that the students were fighting for was my cause. They wanted me out of Vietnam.
Yeah.
Okay, their cause was noble. The provocateurs during this cause seem to me to be evil. They want death to Jews. They want death to Israel. They want death to America. That's awful strong words, Lynn.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, again, thank you so much for your perspective, Lynn. I've been listening to you forever, and I still love you.
Oh, thank you.
That's how we all feel.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Oh, you too. Bye. Ah, geez. Yeah. I don't know. But I feel like, this thing is now, it's sort of out of control. And I don't know. There's no good ending here.
No, there's a bloodlust about it that's, terrifying.
So I've been reading, as we all have, what's happening. We don't even know the half of it, what's going on. There was I was reading something that the president, the chancellor of Vanderbilt, says that he's been trying. These presidents are in an impossible situation, impossible. And he says, when I talk to my fellow university presidents, everybody is having the same experience. And what that experience is, the presidents reach out to these groups and they ask to have meetings with them and to, sit down and talk. And they say they can't talk. He says they are unable to engage in discussion. And so when people are talking about this as a free speech issue, um,
let them speak if they can, other than chanting from the river to the sea.
And he says the other thing, they're unwilling to engage with us administrators when they've been invited repeatedly to do so. And he went on to say, and they're so quick to use aggressive and sometimes physical forms of expression. And then a lot of these presidents are freaked by the masks, and they're concealing their identities so that we, on occasion, have no way of knowing, are we dealing with our students or are we dealing with, outside agitators? They can't tell because of the anonymity. And this is a group that has grown up with social media, in which anonymity provides incredible cover to say outrageous things that you then don't have to really back up. And so they're taking that internet like anonymity and bringing it into their protest here. But it's not, that is not legitimate to me. And here, this is at Pomona in California. He said, this is another president saying, they're wearing masks, which is in violation of our policies. They harass our staff and visitors on campus tours and refuse to identify themselves when questioned, which makes it very difficult for us to know who we are engaging with.
I see nothing wrong with enforcing a policy that says you have to show your student ID upon request.
Yeah.
They could cover their faces all they want, but they better produce ID that shows their face. They don't have the right to menace and break the law, and I think the people that are calling in the police are doing the exact right thing. If they were protesting against any other minority group identifiable, this would have been gone.
Shut down immediately. It is true.
Immediately.
Right.
And I was pleased to see that Google just started firing people that were their employees that were screwing up their business. Oh, really? No, this isn't what you do in a place of work. You're fired. That's the correct response.
Google, which has been considered one of the most progressive places to work, very casual, easygoing environment, they have now fired over 50 of their employees for engaging in what they say is political activities at work, which is, and they have no right to do that whatsoever. I don't know. I don't know. It's the thing.
It's the thing to do, and it's being joined with people that have no idea.
None.
But this is just how easy it is to pick the scab of anti-Semitism, which just about everybody that isn't Jewish and half the people that are Jewish have.
I feel like I can't even, I don't know. I've never felt so like a stranger in, the country. My country was already teetering to my eyes, but it wasn't. And I have to tell you another great fear I now have, and I even hesitate to voice it. My fear is that the Democratic Convention is going to be assaulted in the same way that the convention in 1968 in Chicago was by anti-war demonstrators. That resulted, of course, in a riot and all kinds of horror, and resulted in a Democratic defeat as well at the polls. And I think I'm so fearful that this growing sort of wave of protest is going to put Donald Trump back in the White House. And I didn't think I would ever say that. And whose fault will it be? The Jews. Yeah. We have a caller. Go ahead. Hello.
Happy primary day.
Oh,
All
yes,
right,
Susan, it's our
day.
primary today.
I know it is. I noticed that.
Okay.
You know what? The whole like the hoods and anonymity. It comes down to people just they don't want to have a conversation.
No.
They just want. I mean, I always think of the show. Do you ever watch Sandra Oh's show, The Chair?
No, but I've heard of it.
Yeah. Is that the one where she's she's on a college campus and yes, I did.
Yeah, I saw right. I saw a couple episodes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and her boyfriend, he came into class hungover.
Right.
He's a professor.
Right.
Comes into class and basically he was trying to make a point about absurdity. And so in his example, he was doing Heil Hitler and this and that. And,
right.
And of course, the kids started videotaping him, and then he was just a Nazi then.
Yes.
And
yeah.
And he was like he was flummoxed about how he was completely misunderstood, but at the same time says, "Oh, but this is a wonderful opportunity. We can have this is a conversation starter. Let's talk about this."
Yeah.
But guess what? Nobody wanted to have a conversation.
No.
They wanted his head.
That's right.
And I think that we have so many bad examples who are in leadership or have been in leadership or are high profile. And I mean, our ex-president, Congress, the Senate Republicans, that there's no compromise. They just want to stand on their soapbox and just talk. And that's what everybody sees now. And then you add social media where you can do things, pretty much anonymously. It's just people aren't standing by their real values and don't want to learn from each other.
Well, they don't want to learn because they think they know. There's not, they're just certain that they're right. And they don't want to be troubled by having any of their viewpoints questioned. It's so sad. Yeah, we've lost the skill, a necessary skill in a democracy, of argumentation, of having different points of view, and talking and listening to each other, and reaching perhaps a compromise, however uneasy. We now, I don't know. I think once this kind of insanity has been unleashed, I don't know how you pull it back. I just don't know.
That's what I was going to ask you. What's the next step?
I don't know. I don't see a good one. I don't.
Do we go crazier?
What? It's going
to. I don't know that we can go crazier, but anytime you say something like that, oh yes, we can.
Oh yes, we can. Oh, things could get a lot.
All right. Well,
worse.
Happy Passover to everybody. We love this holiday. It's joyous.
I wish I had a funny story to tell you, but I'm just not one's coming to mind. So
we understand.
You're on your own.
All right. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah. Well, And I, you know, I, okay. And then, again, it is a case in point, talking about examples being set for these students. These students grew up when Donald Trump was president. They and the sort of pollution of our culture in so many ways, and not just because of him. And to get back to like his trial and these jurors, and the fact that you wouldn't want to be one because it comes with this implied threat.
Yeah, that now your name is somehow and face are going to end up on a wanted poster.
Well, that's right. And the one of the editors at the Week put it this way. We know that Trump has invited his supporters to become vigilantes, and they have done so in the past, in the present, and they will in the future. And will the jurors worry that if the evidence leads them to convict this guy, would an angry ex-president sick the mob on them? And of course, that's a totally legitimate question, and one could only answer with, well, yeah, given past performance. And she goes on to say that is even a question that is amazing, because it should not be a danger in a nation governed by the rule of law.
Right.
And we are seeing something that we have not even seen in the mob trials, the level of fear and intimidation, jurors shaking and crying, saying they don't think they can do it. My God, my God. And I also want to point out that there is this is not a slam dunk at all, and he could well get off.
No, it's in the hands of the jury. You can prove every damn thing you want, and if you have a juror that wants to nullify the law, well, then they'll hold out. Nothing you can do about it. But that's the case every single time. That is the process.
Yeah. So, I've been thinking there's just no way that it's so hard to go back to the way we were, in terms of being light-hearted. I find it hard to be light-hearted because my heart, in fact, is heavy. It's truly heavy. And I whatever. So it's time for an obituary.
Yay!
Yay!
Who died?
Thank God for these people dying with interesting names.
Who's out of this?
Well, you won't know him. I never heard of him. His name is Frederick Chelani. Frederick Chelani.
Nope.
Yeah. I'm looking at a picture of him. He looks like he got a cleft in his chin. He's got sort of a boyish face, big eyes. Looks totally non-threatening. Anyway, he's dead. He was 75. This is a guy who's, this is a guy incapable, sort of like Trump, without the venality.
He's a serial killer, is he?
No. He's a fraudster.
Oh.
He's a fraudster. And incapable of not being a fraudster. So it is a psychopathology, isn't it, when somebody is built this way?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah. So he started out his history. He was a seemingly regular person until 1974. He got his first prison sentence for masterminding a bogus plan to build a $100 million waterfront development in Buffalo, where he lived. He was just a scam artist. He'd come up with stuff. He'd sell, he'd get people to invest in something that did not exist.
And then he'd leave, right?
Yeah.
Sort
And
of like
listen, here's the funny part about that. This scam was he masterminded and pulled this one off while he was already serving. He was in Attica.
That's what we call chutzpah.
Yeah, he was in Attica doing a few years for, I don't know, he just took something from some couple to build a house that he, of course, didn't build. So while he's in prison for that crime, he does the same kind of crime. And he gets out, and the first thing he did is start up again because he loved it. He loved it too much to stop, is what the obit says. Buffalo police chief said, you expect a con artist to be suave. He wasn't. So then he goes off to Springfield, Illinois, and tries to pull off another biggie, telling them that he was going to build this huge, like a UPS kind of facility. It was to be called K-Port Package Express. And he hired over 100 people. He hired pilots. He hired drivers. He leased cars. He rented office space. He rented an airplane hangar. All of this. On March 1, 1983, a marching band is, playing as this place cuts the ribbon. Champagne is uncorked. He skipped town 4 days later.
Well, come on. They just, do a background check.
It says this fraud involved bilking hundreds of investors around the country out of nearly $4 million. He defended himself at trial with the assistance of a lawyer named John Knoll, who said, to him, the trial was just a tremendous amount of fun. It was a new adventure for him. He was sentenced to 15 years for that one. He served 6, and he gets out, and of course, right back into it. A guy who wrote a 3-part series about him for the Springfield newspaper said, the thing that is odd about him is that all of the people I talked to, even the ones he bilked, nobody was mad at him.
They figured they got their value in entertainment.
But here's the last part. Wait, I gotta go to the last part. So then he ends up in California, and he founds a civil rights law firm. Never mind, he's not a lawyer. A civil rights law firm called Center for Constitutional Law and Justice. He hired some lawyers.
Started getting soliciting.
No, he represented federal inmates. See, when he's in jail so much, he's talking to inmates and he's getting ideas.
Right.
So he's representing inmates, some of whom paid the center thousands of dollars hoping to overturn their conviction. This, too, was also a scam. He ends up back in prison for 7 years. He gets out. He's free again, changes his name to the Reverend Bob Hunt, and tries to do the lawyer scam again in a different place, and defrauded an estimated 150 inmates. And needless to say, at his trial for that, he said to the judge, Judge, there's a whole bunch of unhappy inmates coast to coast who would like to see me as soon as possible.
You can't put me in there.
I can't even.
I was wondering about that, frankly.
I can't even. This goes on and on and on. He moved on to a real estate scheme on Long Island. He cheated investors out of $8 million there. The FBI showed up at his door, 2005, and he said, "I was expecting you. Listen, I was just about to. I'm a diabetic. I was just about to get my insulin." And he turned around and left and walked out the back door. And 4 years later, they caught up with him. You can't make it up.
No.
So, I mean, we got a caller here. I mean, actually, we had a call, and I was too busy talking about this because it took us away from the horrors.
Right. Okay. Take the call.
Okay, we are. Hello, caller.
Hello, Lynn and
Susan.
Lynn's sister. I'm busy working here, but I got a minute. I just wanted to, you're talking about those protesters about Palestine, and I'm kind of in the middle of it. My kid's girlfriend's Muslim, and she's really all roused about that. She's out protesting, and then I've been dating this really sweet Jewish lady, and it's tough to see both sides.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of vicious anger, and it seems to be getting confused between, I believe, I guess, well, I'm not sure, but I guess the government of Israel.
Yes.
Yep.
And then that's where it should be directed. Would you agree?
Yes.
And it seems to be directed at Jews.
Yes.
That's the problem.
And that's the problem. That's absolutely right. Because Jewish people are not really. A lot of Jewish people are not happy about the large number of civilian deaths.
Jeez, I'd say most. I mean, are you kidding?
Yes, most.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to be as accurate as possible. Not all, but most. Okay. Yeah. I mean, these are, in some sense, these are deaths that are being done in our name, and I'm not for that. No.
Calling any Jew, which is what they're doing, as a Zionist. I am now a genocidal, oppressor of whatever. I mean, it's so over the top, so incorrect, and it devolves into just flat out good old, always been anti-Semitism, and Jews will tell you this never ends. Well, it doesn't.
Well, I started my working life working as a maintenance man for a Jewish country club, and I don't think there was one Jew that worked there. Can't think of. So everybody, was out in Westmoreland County, and everybody from the area worked there. And I used to know a lot of Jewish jokes, but I didn't feel that like anti-Semitism there. It's hard to explain, but I mean the people that ran the place did crazy stuff, but everybody does crazy shit, and the management was goofy, but it wasn't because they were Jewish, it was because they were
goofy.
Yeah.
Well, right. Anytime Jews engage in like behaviors that suggest all the usual anti-Semitic tropes, like defrauding, money stuff, blah blah blah, whatever, then it just solidifies, what people have learned about Jews. This is how they are, right? It's why Jews just cringe when somebody like, well, the worst, Bernie Madoff, that he had to be a Jew.
Right, the fraudster, right?
Yeah, the fraudster. He had to be a Jew. Thanks a lot.
What an aptly named dude, Madoff with our money.
Right, I know.
I just encourage people to open their eyes and think about things. Like my kids have really opened my eyes to my my bigotry. I'd say stuff. I didn't even realize I say things. My kids would be yelling at me, and I'm like, "What did I say?" And they just say, "You just said blah blah blah." I said, "I didn't say that. You're crazy." But it's so. I think it's called internalized. You don't even know you're doing it.
That's right. And, but once you are made aware, you find you are capable of changing.
Exactly. I just pretty. I mean, it floored me. I was out in Westmoreland County at the courthouse conducting some business with, official and all that. And the lady said, nice lady, we had to do this stuff with a will or something. And she says, as she's like turns and walks away, she says, "You don't want to get Jude out any of your money."
Yes.
And she walks away. And I was like, my older brother and sister, they're, 12, 13 years older than me. And my kids have to yell at them all the time about how they talk. But I was like, I can't believe that woman said that shit. And they're like, what? And I'm like, she just said Jew. And they're like, I didn't hear that. I mean, it's just surprising that people can be, my kids are always pointing it out to me, so I stop that.
Well, that's, that's good. And good for you for learning and being open to learn. I remember once when I worked at Channel 4, a colleague there used that term, saying, well, you don't want to get Jude out of, and they're saying that to me. And I looked at them like with just astonishment. It had never occurred to them.
That's what they were saying.
Well, just when I used to say, and have stopped using, gypped.
Gyp.
They gypped you. And that's from gypsy. And that is the same kind of slur.
Yes.
That was a particularly difficult one for me to stop, but and that my kids, my older siblings, whenever I did something stupid, they would say, "What are you, the R word?" And my kids would yell at me for using the R word. So I changed. This has been working really well. My kids do something stupid, I say, "You're very highly regarded," and now we can laugh about it. If you know what the R word I'm saying. Hey, I got to slip this joke in here real quick because it's funny. So this robber comes into a bank and he's holding the place up and his mask slips down. And there's people in line. The first guy he comes to says, "Hey, did you see my face?" And the guy goes, "No, I didn't." And the second person, "Hey, did you see my face?" And the person goes, "Yeah." Bam! He shoots the guy dead. Right over. Goes to the third guy. Said, "Hey, did you see my face?" And the guy goes, "No, I didn't, but my wife did." Okay. All right, great, Dave.
Good. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Laughing is good.
Laughing is good, even if it's a wife joke.
Yeah, even if it's a misogynistic joke. I mean, what are we going to do?
What are we going to do?
I mean, you got to laugh. Jeez.
Well, on that order, here's the Passover joke. It was on, probably people on Facebook have seen it, but it's 4 rolls of toilet paper. The first roll is the roll is facing with the rolling side on top, coming down, and that's called the smart child. And then there's the opposite, and that's called the ignorant child. And then there's one where there is an almost empty roll with a roll on top of it called, I think what child am I missing?
You're missing the this, by the way, is a story told at Passover of 4 children. The the rebellious one, that's one you're
Yes,
missing.
and then
the
there's
simple
one with an
one.
empty roll, right? And there's one with an empty roll, and that's the one that you say, "You will not come out of Israel."
Well, because I had to read the rebellious child one, which I said last night, and I was blown away by what. What it says is, you say to the rebellious child, and if you'd been there, God wouldn't have brought you out. He'd have brought me, but he wouldn't have brought you. And
I know, it's such a nasty story.
I was stunned. And I turned to the group and I said, God almighty, is that some seriously bad parenting there? And they all agreed. It's like they hadn't ever thought of it. What are we reading here? It's what God did for me.
I was getting a lecture from our brother that there is actually no historical evidence that the Jews, in fact, built the
that's true. No, absolutely true.
Or that we were slaves,
even that we were slaves. There is, listen,
right.
Absolutely true. Because the Bible, I hate to tell you, is a story. Some of it based on things that actually happened, and some of it...
they did prove that David existed.
And some that's very embellished, okay?
Yes.
I'm just saying. Jeez. So, God help us.
I also learned during last night's Seder that the several of the names of the plagues that beset Egypt were actually the names of prior gods.
What?
Yeah.
You mean there's a god named Locust?
There was one named Blight. Devar. It was the god Devar. I know that's.
Why would a god be named Blight?
I don't know.
These are Egyptian gods. Ain't Jewish gods.
I have no idea. You have to take this up with our brother. I'm just telling you what I learned during the course of our Seder.
I'm glad. See, this is when you have an academic leading the Seder. It is, oh my God.
It's so good that Mother's chair had arms on it, or she would have fallen over.
Is he still there?
I don't know. Yeah, he thought he might wait until I hung up. I don't know if he did.
Oh, but he was planning on going back. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he and the dog are leaving.
Okay, I have two little stories that we can sort of end on. One, one is just beyond belief to me. I've often said that the Republicans are that there's a cruelty to their view of the least of us. Their inclination is never to help; it's to punish, right? And I saw this on NPR, and I was just blown away. Ron DeSantis, remember him? He went back to be the governor of the less than great state of Florida. He last week signed a bill that doesn't do anything for anybody. It ties the hands of local governments so that they can't do anything helpful. It bars local governments from mandating protections for workers who are working in the sweltering summer heat.
Oh, that one. Oh, right. No water, no covering, no breaks.
No. Can you imagine? So that what happened is that the whoever runs
at a time of climate change when
Yes,
when the heat is even worse.
Okay, so the heat index in Miami had topped 100 degrees for 46 days in a row. And the folks who make laws, ordinances there said, gee whiz, I mean, we've got to make sure that employers, including ourselves, that we mandate access to water for anybody working outside in this, and provide shade as well. Respite, water and shade, respite, and that is what DeSantis nixed. He said the state refuses to allow you to enact such a law.
How do people even conceive of being this evil?
I don't know.
On what grounds would you not say there is a minimum level of care that any employer has to exercise?
Well, I guess, Susan, the grounds are that they think that allowing business to be have absolutely no restraints put on them. This is all about, they view regulation of business in any way as a worse thing than, I don't know, workers dropping dead for lack of water or shade. There is no way you can comprehend that level of cruelty.
No. And it would be nice if we could say, well, there's no need for that, because what employer wouldn't give their employees water and respite and a little shelter when needed? And the sad truth is, a lot. We'll point out the meatpacking plants that were excluded from any of these orders and killed literally, probably thousands of their workers,
including children. So I remember, this brings a memory to me, Susan, when we were in Sarasota, you, me, and Leah, I think. We were in Sarasota, and I took a walk or something, and I saw these two guys up on a roof, and they were putting like black tar paper or something on this roof. It was so hot that day. There was no shade. And I was thinking, good God, that looks like torture. I couldn't even begin to imagine. And it's a job like that. I'm sorry. No one should be subjected to that without respite and without plenty of water.
Well, I've long thought that about roofers, because roofing season is warm weather and it's always hot work. I mean, I don't care if you're in Minnesota in the summer doing roofing work, it's hot.
I'm sorry. Milton sent me something about the 10 plagues. And it had sound on it, so I don't know. Anyway, and I don't think we're going to have time. The other thing was, this was a good thing that happened. A union was voted in at a Volkswagen plant in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is how mind-blowing this is. It is the first Southern, a lot of auto plants went south. It is the first Southern auto factory to unionize since the 1940s.
Wow.
So,
yay
indeed. And the most wondrous thing that I read about it, because it wasn't even a close election, the most wonderful thing I read about it is Volkswagen congratulated the workers. X says right here, Volkswagen thanked its workers for voting in a democratic election. And this might explain this. This was the only plant that Volkswagen owns that had not had a union. They are used to unions. They enjoy working. They think this is the way it should be. We represent management, they represent the workers, and we sit down together and talk for the betterment of all, for the betterment of all. And so to know that there is an employer, Volkswagen, with European, background, also a Nazi background, I might add, that is, coming from a different place than America often is when it comes to unions, actually thanked the workers. Wow. Okay. Well,
yay, democracy at work.
Yeah. Okay.
Go vote, everybody that's in Pennsylvania. Go vote.
Yeah. So anyway, we're about to re-elect one of the members of the squad, I think.
Okay.
Which I am not happy about. She actually voted not to condemn Iran for its attack on Israel.
Okay.
That's my congressperson. Does she represent
No, I wouldn't
me?
vote for her.
I would not vote for her either. But she's going to win. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Suze.
Talk soon.
Okay.
The dirt is being put in the pots.
Okay. All right. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
So the thing is, guys, Susan's saying that because I make an annual pilgrimage to Wisconsin to plant these big pots my mom has in her backyard. And I will be doing that not next week, but the week after. So next week will be my last full week. And then I'm taking a week off. I haven't taken a week off in some time. And I need one. I really, really need one. So there's that. I hope you enjoy this beautiful sunshine today. And I don't know. We'll talk. We'll talk tomorrow. Okay? Good.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.